And when it went into the door, my window had been rolled down. So the glass from the window then exploded up. From the door. And when it exploded, I just remember seeing a big chunk of glass come over my hand, and I see blood on my hand. And I didn't know what it was from originally. You know, later I found out it was actually his blood because I wasn't cut.
It is our understanding at this point in the investigation that within the police car there was a struggle over the officer's weapon. There was at least one shot fired within the car.
Tiffany, did you see anything that could have been a struggle over the officer's weapon?
No.
Because you just said that every time when you were looking at it, Michael's hands were outside of the car.
Yes.
Did you hear anything said by Michael or the police officer?
No, not at all. Aren't these guys supposed to have like dashboard cams on their vehicles or something like that?
Well, if they apparently not, but if they did have a dashboard cam, it wouldn't be aimed out the side of the car probably, so we don't have any help.
It would have heard what was going on.
Yeah, it would have heard, that's right. It would have picked up the sound.
But after the glass flies over, I look at him, and he kind of backs up about 6 inches to a foot. And it kind of startled both of us.
That was the first time you'd ever used your gun, right?
Yes, it was.
In all your years as a police officer?
Yes.
What were you thinking?
We were both in shock. That's all I mean, it was shocking having to pull it, but it was also at the same time, it was shocking that this was the only option I had. Because if I didn't act that way, I wouldn't be sitting right here.
And then what happens?
After I look at him, he's kind of shocked. He gets even angrier. His aggression in his face, the intensity just increases. And he comes back in at me again. And when he comes back in, I just block my face again, and I put my gun up and try to shoot. Well, it doesn't shoot that time either. Now it's jammed again from all the previous interaction with it. So after I take the first hit, I put my hand down, I blindly rack the gun, which is I take my hand on top of the slide and I just bring one back, it ejects around. Again, training just kicked in. I never even thought about this. Just your gun jams, you rack it, you get a new round in there. And when I did that, I wasn't looking at him, I was just like, rack it, expecting another hit, and I put my gun up and fired. And after I fired that shot, I look over, he's running.
It went off that time.
It did go off that time. He starts to run, and I see the dust cloud behind him, and I'm like, okay, I missed. That was the round didn't hit him. Then I go to exit my car. And when I'm getting out, I use my walkie and I say, shots fired, send more cars. And I start chasing after Michael Brown.
You sent that radio message, shots fired, send no cars, but nobody got it.
No.
How come?
Found out later my radio during all the altercation, which was down on the side, which is where my portable radio was kept, the channel was changed from 1 to 3.
That moment before the second shot, you guys are staring at each other, and you said there was a look in his eye like something you'd never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
You described it as a demon.
Mm-hmm. It was a very, very intense image he was presenting.
Demon?
Very intense.
And What did you think was going on in his mind, and why do you choose the word demon?
I don't really know what was going on in his mind. I was so shocked by the whole interaction because this was escalated so quickly from a simple request to now a fight for survival.
And you're staring at each other, you see this demon. What did you think he was going to do?
I was prepared for the worst. I mean, I thought when he came back at me, I thought he's just going to punch me until I'm dead or take my gun and shoot me with it. He's already tried it once.
Your gun goes off the second time, and he then does run away.
Yes, he does.
How far does he go?
I don't know, I mean, around 30, 40 feet.
At that moment, you've called for help.
Yes.
Why not stay in the car? He's running away.
Because he's not, my job isn't to just sit and wait. You know, I have to see where this guy goes. My goal wasn't to arrest him. My goal was to maintain a visual on him. And I was worried.
I mean, you weren't going to arrest him alone?
Not alone, no. I knew I had backup on the way. I mean, they should be there any second. And I was also worried that if I was another officer responding and I see, you know, again, I think they've heard all this, they know what's going on. If I see a guy running from another officer's car, I'm going to go get him. You know, that's going to be your first reaction is how do we catch him? Well, the way Canfield's set up is there's two loops. So where I'm at, there's a loop that goes around and he's running like towards that loop. So the first responding officer is going to go that way and try and cut him off. Well, what's he going to do to them?
So you felt it was your duty to give chase.
Yes, it was. I mean, that's what we were trained to do.
And he runs out of the car, gets about 30 or 40 feet. You can now get out of the car. You start to follow him. And then he stops.
He does stop.
Why?
I thought when he originally stopped, he was going to get on the ground, but he didn't. When he stopped, he turned and faced me. And the stutter step that you sometimes see, like when people start to run and they kind of did the hop and then go, he does that, and as he does that, his right hand immediately goes into his waistband, and his left hand is a fist at his side, and he starts charging me.
You that there are at least 6 bullet wounds. In fact, counting St. Louis says there might be up to 8. But let's go with the number 6 that most people agree to, including Dr. Michael Baden, who did the private autopsy. And 4 of them entered his right arm, as you can see there, and 2 of the bullets entered his head. And so now let's go to Dr. Baden, who, by the way, is one of the most respected
Right hand in his waistband?
Yes.
It's kind of an odd thing for someone running to do, right? What did you think when you saw that?
I didn't know. I mean, my initial thought was, is there a weapon in there? Is there a knife? Is there a brick? What's in there? Why is your hand going there? the unknown of what is there. drew my
Even though he
attention.
hadn't pulled something out earlier when he was confronting you.
It was still just the unknown. And again, we're taught to let me see your hands.
As you know, some of the eyewitnesses have said when at that moment when he turned around and put his hands up.
That would be incorrect.
He shot again, and once my friend felt that shot, he turned around and he put his hands in the earth, and he started to get down, but the officer still approached with his weapon drawn, and he fired several more shots.
The cop follows him and kept shooting, and the kid body jerked as if he was hit. And after his body jerked, he turned around, he puts his hands up, and the cop just continues to walk up on him and shoot him until he goes all the way down.
Of the shooting. The man on the left in the pink shirt told CNN they heard one gunshot. Then, about 30 seconds later, a second shot. He says he saw Michael Brown staggering. Then he says Brown put his hands up and said, "Okay, okay, okay." The witness told us the cop didn't say get on the ground, he just kept shooting. That same witness described the gruesome scene, saying he saw Michael Brown's brains come out of his head, again reiterating his hands were up. Watch how he motions on the video.
Incorrect.
No way.
No way.
So you say he starts to run, does a stutter step, starts to come towards you, and
At that time, I gave myself another mental check. Can I shoot this guy? Legally, can I? And the question I answered myself was, I have to. If I don't, he will kill me if he gets to me.
When he says, it all happened so fast I couldn't think, then later says, I paused and thought, can I legally shoot him? Listen, that doesn't add up. There's so many things that
he
don't
says
add
he didn't
up.
have other options. That's from the mouth of Officer Wilson.
Look, do you know how many times I've ever sided against a cop? Never. But to me, this is bigger than a badge. And I don't like speaking out against a cop. But this doesn't add up.
He's already overpowered me once. If he gets to me, I will not survive.
even though he's, what, 35, 40 feet away?
Once he's coming that direction, if he hasn't stopped yet, when's he going to stop?
So you've already fired twice. He starts to come towards you.
After he's coming at me and I decide to shoot, I fired a series of shots and paused.
What did you see?
I noticed at least one of them hit him. I don't know where, but I saw his body kind of just flinch a little. And after that, I paused and I again yelled, stop, get on the ground, giving him the opportunity to stop. And he ignored all the commands and he just kept running. And so after he kept running again, I shot another series of shots. And at least one of those hit him because I saw the flinch. And he stopped. I stopped and I said, get on the ground, get on the ground. Well, this time he's about 15 feet away. So I start backpedaling because he's just getting too close and he's still not stopping after.
You were backpedaling.
Yes, away from him. Because I was like, he's already running through these shots. I mean, they weren't phasing him. It didn't matter to him. And he was looking through me. The face and the image he was presenting was just, I wasn't even there.
What did you see in that face?
Just aggression. There was nothing. It was like hollow just looking through me. And as he gets to that 15 feet after I fired the second round of shots, he gets to about 8 to 10 feet, and as he does that, he kind of starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. And 8 to 10 feet is close.
And he then does run away.
Yes, he does.
How far does he go?
I don't know, around 30, 40 feet.
The entire scene from approximately the car door to the shooting is about 35 feet.
So you felt it was your duty to give chase.
Yes, it was. That's what we were trained to do.
And he runs out of the car, gets about 30 or 40 feet. You can now get out of the car. You start to follow him. And then he stops.
He does stop.
Even though he's, what, 35, 40 feet away?
Once he's coming that direction, if he hasn't stopped yet, when's he going to stop?
So you've already fired twice. He starts to come towards you.
After he's coming at me and I decide to shoot, I fired a series of shots and paused.
What did you see?
I noticed at least one of them hit him. I don't know where, but I saw his body kind of just flinch a little. And after that, I paused and I again yelled, stop, get on the ground. Giving him the opportunity to stop. And he ignored all the commands and he just kept running. And so after he kept running again, I shot another series of shots. And at least one of those hit him because I saw the flinch. And he stopped. I stopped and I said, get on the ground, get on the ground. Well, this time he's about 15 feet away. So I start backpedaling because he's just getting too close and he's still not stopping from one.
You were backpedaling?
Yes, away from him. Because I was like, he's already running through these shots. I mean, they weren't phasing him. It didn't matter to him. Shots. He gets to about 8 to 10 feet.
Four of them entered his right arm, as you can see there.
And as he does that, he kind of starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. And 8 to 10 feet is close. I mean, if he's going to tackle me, he's going to tackle me at that point. And I looked down my barrel of my gun and I fired, and what I saw was his head, and that's where it went. And when he landed, he fell face first and actually slid on his face and upper body. And as he did that, his feet had come up in the air from all the momentum he had from running at me.
So you think he'd been hitting you with his right hand and holding the cigarillos in his left hand?
I think he was hitting me with his right with the cigarillos at first, and then switched it at some point to his left, and then handed them off.
And then what happens?
After I look at him, he's kind of shocked. He gets even angrier. His aggression, his face, the intensity just increases. I mean, if he's going to tackle me, he's going to tackle me at that point. And I looked down my barrel of my gun and I fired, and what I saw was his head, and that's where it went.
Right in the top of his head?
Yes.
Some witnesses have also said that they actually saw you stand over him and shoot in the top of his head.
That'd be incorrect.
It's my understanding that the grand jury had made a request that they wanted to hear our results from the independent autopsy. I don't know what happened or when that happened in the process of things, but I also know that Ben Crump had to push for Dr. Bodden to be able to come testify today, and it was finally allowed. What it tells us is the kill shot that actually hit the very top of the head, right here at the apex, actually went in and traveled to the right and towards the front of the head when it went in. So in other words, as he's falling forward, the barrel of the gun and the bullet trajectory is actually in a downward angle being aimed towards the ground as it goes into the head.
I shot a federal agent 16 days ago. Shot him dead when I was bleeding to death with a shoulder wound that he'd shot me. I defended myself to the best of my ability. I was hoping I could go through life without doing such a thing. And maybe some of you have actually defended your own life in a similar fashion. It's very sad you have to shoot or kill somebody. Maybe some of you were police officers and have had to do the same. And I don't know if you ever kill a human being, you're never the same as a person who never has killed a human being. It is with you for the rest of your days. Whether you do it in war, whether you do it in murder, whether you do it in self-defense, you have taken one of God's holy creations off this planet. And there is a void there. And I feel that, and I'm very sorry for that. But I had to defend myself.
Mm-hmm. Something you think that will always haunt you?
I don't think it's a haunting. It's always going to be something that happened.
You have a very clean conscience.
The reason I have a clean conscience is because I know I did my job right.